Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Monday, April 14th. Hopefully y'all are all having a good one. It is draft week next week. So this is the second to last mock draft Monday before the draft. Pretty incredible. Fired up. Can't wait for it to get here. Can't wait for draft night. All that good stuff. Should have a fun night lined up for y'all from a content perspective. We'll have some more information about that soon. So stay on top of that. We'll announce it here on the channel and on socials, on Twitter and all that good stuff. So fired up for that. Fired up for the draft. And fired up for this mock draft. Ran this over on the PFF Mock Draft Simulator. This is a look at what I think could happen, certainly. It's also, very much approved by myself. These are all picks that I would make and picks I could see the Jaguars making over the last couple of years, with James Gladstone being a key figure in the Rams draft process. A lot of the moves they've made, especially the first few rounds of the draft, have been very adjacent to kind of my evaluations. And so here we're trying to match team needs with value and come up with the best of both worlds. I think in most situations you can do that. And I did have a bit of a pivot here from what we've been doing lately, mostly Mason Graham at 5. I still have Mason Graham at 5. So, that's not a big surprise there. But after that, the pick at 36, the first second round pick for the Jaguars, was a little bit of a switch up. If you've been paying attention the last few days on the channel, you might be able to guess who that could be potentially. But we'll dive into that. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. So with the 5th pick, it's Mason Graham. And actually just saw a video of him working out with D-line coach and wearing a Jacksonville Jaguars workout shirt. So I don't know. If you want to read into that, you can. Either way, I think Mason Graham is the most likely pick for the Jaguars. He just fits the bill in so many different ways. They have future defensive line needs. They also could use an upgrade on the defensive line right now. I think Mason Graham has the ability to provide the best of both worlds. He can be a really good pass rusher, also a very good run defender. He's stout, he's strong, he's powerful, but very explosive off the ball, very flexible, got good hands, has just pretty much everything in the bag you could ask for: the Euro step, the clubs, the swipes, the swim. Can finish with rips. He has the flexibility to kind of bend the arc at the top of a rush from the interior spot, which you don't see a lot. You see he can spin counter on you. He can do it all. Mason Graham's a stud. So 5 overall, Mason Graham. He's my 4th ranked player in this class, so great value there for the Jaguars. But getting to the real kind of meat of this, the surprising part maybe for some, Savone Revel out of East Carolina is who I have the Jaguars at 36 taking right now. And he is probably the most talented prospect on the board for me pretty consistently when I run these mock drafts. He had a torn ACL in September. Outside of that, I think he was on track to be at worst a top 20 selection, potentially top 10, potentially CB2 if you're talking about Travis Hunter as CB1. I love Will Johnson. I think the way Savone Revel was playing, he was going to have the opportunity to put himself in that tier with Will Johnson, who I still have as CB2 behind Travis Hunter. Unbelievable length, really good athlete, fluid hips, can bait quarterbacks at a high level, can play trail technique. I see some similarities. I don't think he's the same level of physicality as somebody who the Jaguars selected at 5 overall back in, 2016, Jalen Ramsey. But some traits like in coverage that are similar, the length, the ability, like the trail, the ability to go get the football, to bait quarterbacks into making not the best decisions. I just think he's a supreme athlete and a really good talent at the position. And I think the Jaguars have the opportunity to potentially be aggressive and get a player that should have no business being available in the second round at corner. The other reason I think this makes a lot of sense, I think that the corner class might thin out a little bit faster than the wide receiver class. And I think wide receiver is a bigger need. You have Jordan Lewis, you have Tyson Campbell, you have Jarian Jones. You feel like you can probably figure it out with those three, but two of them really are primary nickel players. So I think that long term and short term, you could use an upgrade at outside corner opposite Tyson Campbell, even though you have Jordan Lewis and Jarian Jones. And I do think, like, if you drafted, Savone Revel, that doesn't mean that Jordan Lewis or Jarian Jones doesn't have a role on this football team, like getting on the field, right? So I look at this and I say, just take the talent. It is a need, definitely a long-term need. I think it's also a short-term need. Revel is just too talented to pass up on at this point. And again, corner thins out, in my opinion, quicker than receiver. And at 70, that's where we take our receiver. And I was deciding here between Jalen Knoll out of Iowa State and Kyle Williams out of Washington State. I ended up with going Kyle Williams because I think that there's more versatility to play outside. He played primarily outside during his collegiate career, whereas Jalen Knoll primarily played inside. I think both can move around a little bit, but I think that Kyle Williams' game and his release package off the line of scrimmage indicates to me that there's more. You can have a higher snap volume outside with Kyle Williams than potentially Jalen Knoll. Similar athletes. Williams has a little bit more length and he's a little bit thinner. Knoll is a little bit stockier, but similar level athletes. I just think Kyle Williams has a better overall release package on the outside, so that gives you more versatility with him. They're both strong at the catch point. They both have consistent hands, both good route runners. I think Kyle Williams is a little bit more explosive with the ball in his hands as well, like a dude that's a real yak threat, can go up and get it, make these highlight reel grabs. I think Kyle Williams, pairing him up with BTJ and De'Ami Brown for at least a year there with De'Ami, that's a really nice trio. And then you have some depth guys that you can feel decent about. But Kyle Williams stepping in as a early contributor for the Jaguars at wide receiver at 70 overall. At 88, we go Andrew Makuba. You could wait until early day three to go get a safety in all likelihood. But I do think Andrew Makuba at 88, he's consistently there in these mock drafts over on PFF and mock draft database, NFL mock draft database. To me, he just has the cleanest projection of these guys outside of like the first couple rounds to being a really good safety in the NFL. And he's got the athleticism, he's got the playmaking. I think he's got versatility, good tackler, willing to come downhill. So we take him because there's a big need at safety. You brought in, obviously, your guy, Eric Murray, and you have Savage. You got some other guys as well, Andrew Winger and Antonio Johnson, Daniel Thomas. But I don't think you really get fired up about any of those guys in the starting lineup. I think Andrew Makuba is a player you could get really excited about. And then at 107, we've got Femi Oladejo, another player I talk about a lot, both on this channel and on Rogue Football. If you want more draft content, you can check out Rogue Football. But Femi Oladejo, I don't think he lasts to 107, quite frankly, but who knows, right? Who knows how it's going to play out. And to me, if you're able to get him, or Ashton Gelati could be there at 107. Those are the two rushers I kind of pencil in this area. The Jaguars need an edge 3. I wouldn't be mad at them for taking one earlier if the right guy falls. I wouldn't be mad at them for taking Femi over Andrew Makuba at 88. But I think that, again, when I look at stacking the boards, I get more nervous about passing on Andrew Makuba at 88 than I do Femi Oladejo at 88, because Femi could potentially land to fall to 107, or you've got other options you feel really good about. At safety, I just don't feel nearly as good about the other options, maybe outside of maybe a Jonas Sanker, as somebody who has some versatility and some real coverage ability on the back end. But Femi Oladejo, converted down to edge from off-ball linebacker. I love his game. I think we talked about him earlier today, but a player who high energy, intangibly rich, has all the physical traits you could be looking for, the explosiveness, the length, and had a really good season, bringing the energy at UCLA, and then did it at the Senior Bowl, played very well at the Senior Bowl, and then showed out at the Combine. So he kind of stacked it all together, and that's a player I'm really high on. Out of UCLA, I think the Jaguars will be as well. At 126, we've got Logan Brown, the offensive tackle out of Kansas, played right tackle for them. He looks like he has the athleticism to play, either side of the line at left or right tackle. I think that he could be a good swing tackle for you long term. I know you brought in some guys who are swing tackles this year already, Fred Johnson, Chuma Edoga, but Logan Brown, I think, gives you some more staying power, more athleticism than either of those guys bring, and somebody who could potentially upgrade the floor of the roster. And I think he has starting potential. He's a really good athlete with good size. He was incredibly efficient in pass protection this year. I did see him. He didn't draw a lot of penalties, but I thought there was a number of plays that didn't get called where he could have been called for holding. So that's something to keep in mind. But when you're talking about this level of athlete, a former big-time recruit at this point in the draft, I think pretty good tape, very good athlete, big-time recruit, kind of makes sense. And then at 142, we take interior offensive lineman Miles Frazier, who's just consistently underrated in my mind. Had a great Senior Bowl week, had a great final season at LSU. I don't think he gave up a sack all year, but Miles Frazier is just a very consistent interior offensive lineman that I think probably can be scheme versatile. And then at 182, we have running back Jordan James coming off the board, Bucky Irving's teammate. Of course, Bucky Irving had a tremendous season for Liam Cohen and the Buccaneers offense last year. Jordan James, his teammate from Oregon, I think can do some similar things to Bucky Irving. They're not the same player. They're not a one-to-one, but he's got some juice, some explosiveness, some wiggle, creativity. A lot of times when I was watching Bucky Irving, Jordan James popped. So I think that you could probably think Liam Cohen might see the same thing. At 194, a wide receiver that I just can't pass up on him. He can consistently falls to mid to late day three. Ty Felton out of Maryland. I think he is a perfect fit for the Liam Cohen offense with his ability to, or his experience in the screen game, his ability to stretch the field with his speed. He's got explosiveness to go up and get the football a little bit as well. Decent hands. I don't think he's got like the same level of hand consistency as Kyle Williams or Jalen Knoll that we were talking about earlier, but somebody who more than worth taking a flyer on late in the draft. And then at 221, another player who I just don't know how he continues to fall, Ty Robinson, who to me has some real potential as a interior penetration style player, explosive, has experience kind of stunting and crossing the face of interior offensive linemen, and he plays with a red hot motor. So that's kind of this mock draft for you. I'm excited to hear what y'all think about this. Can't wait for the draft. Less than 2 weeks away. Next Thursday, April 24th, we're getting it kicked off. And again, we'll have some more news on a fun little event content we've got going on with Club Jaguar on draft night. So stay tuned for that. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.